What do some people take way too seriously? Terrible attitude said. It's gotten to the point where some of my social circle seems to think not only pics or it didn't happen, but also posts or you never thought it. They think if you didn't share the meme they posted about, whatever, you must not care. If you didn't put a temporary frame around your profile pic, you're callous to the latest tragedy. If you didn't like and share the unverified story about some child on the other side of the planet with cancer, you must think cancer is a joke. If you don't repost the political statements they make, you must be with the other guy. El Durazno said. Technically yes, but I personally feel that entities like Reddit, Tumblr, and iPhone are in a different category that as far as I'm aware doesn't have a proper name. They have a sense of anonymity to them where it's not just a thing you can do but is often expected, and sometimes you can even build up a whole new persona. If you were on iPhone when I was, you'd probably remember Iwanafikanandulsa. He became a meme and closed in iPhone and single-handedly sprouted the naming meme Iwanablank. They're very similar but different world, and I feel it's important to make this distinction. Patronizes idiots said. I mean, I think the answer to this is pretty simple. The vast majority of people live pretty simple, unglamorous lives, and they like living vicariously through those who do. So keeping up with people like Kim K seems thrilling, following them through a life most only dream of, even if it's just watching someone brain dead and out of touch trounce around through luxurious places and experiences. Excite said. I put my son in a 5th and 6th grade football program a few years ago. He is mildly autistic and the coach went out of his way to help my son get over the anxieties he had. The reason I'm mentioning this is because the coach ended up quitting before the end of the season, when there were like 3 games left. The assistant coach took over from there, and a couple of the kids' dads were so bossy and overbearing that they almost got into a fight with the coach during the last game. At the beginning of TH season, the guy who was heading the entire program made it clear that this league was for practice and fun, and that none of it was going to lead to scholarships or championships. These 2 dads ruined the entire last game instead of making it fun. I don't think the league had an actual championship, either. Iron further said. I coach soccer for 8-10-year-olds this year. I knew parents were going to be a bit extra coming out of a pandemic school year and that it's hard to coach that age anyway. I was completely unprepared for just how bad it would be. The league made it clear that masks would stay on at all times, every single person at the field over 3 included. I had a harder time getting the parents to wear them than I did the kids. Out of 6 games, 3 of them had parents from the other team screaming at the teenage refs or my players for something. I told the league admin after our 4th game that I was done and exactly why. They talked me into finishing the season. Those last 2 games were okay, but she stood at our field the entire time. Youth sports are great for the kids but impossible because of parents. Ross said. Me too. The kids were pretty young when I started, and parents were chill, but they got more aggro the older the kids got. I've thrown more than a handful of parents, and a couple coaches, out to the parking lot. One time, I literally had to hold the ball and stand there in the middle of the field, hand on hip, until the other parents escorted this jackass parent out to his car. It was educational, as a teen young adult. Dealing with actual adults with maturity levels lower than mine was eye-opening to how the real world was going to work. Part 5 said. Some mods go way overboard. Like they're an assistant manager at a chain restaurant on a power trip. It's really crazy to see. Not all mods obviously. Some just do it for the sake of doing it. But a good amount just do it for the power, I guess. The worst are the ones that sticky their own posts, then tag every post with a hilarious joke they made up. Then they ban anyone who speaks up about it. It's just so weird. This sub is pretty relaxed, especially for being such a large subreddit. It's a lot of more medium-sized ones where I see it. V0001 said. Working 80 to 100 hours a week. I think working 40 hours is too much. My goal is to work the least amount possible, make the most money possible, so I can enjoy my life more. Poop Dog said. I think I remember hearing on a TED Talk, not TEDx, that most people who say they work an insane amount of hours are usually lying. Not all, but most. They tend to work more than 40 but not by much. I'm going to try to find the article they referenced. Edit. Found it. https://www.ted.com/talks /Lord _ Vanderkam _ how _ TO _ gain _ control _ OF _ year _ free _ time _ language equalson. She mentions it a bit after the 9:30 mark, but unfortunately doesn't say what the study is. I wonder if I could find that too. Edit 2. Found an article with a PDF of the study as well. People who claim to work something like 75 hours a week are usually off by about 25 hours. https://nimg.com/intelligencer/2019/people-who-claim-to-work-75-hour-weeks-are-lying.html. Damn, I can't believe I remembered enough detail from a short podcast I listened to like 4 years ago. I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that. Theorioff said, "Thanks for sharing the article. I've always had a sort of suspicion this was the case, after rooming with a few workaholics during the pandemic. Obviously I can't draw any conclusions from just 3 people, but they all did similar things, boasted, complained about how they worked too much, started and ended work at ridiculous hours, and spent a whole lot of time off task in between. I timed one of them one day, just to see, and they spent a total of 12 hours at work, but were only actually sitting at their desk for 5.5 of those hours." Smushy Face said, "My boss is a workaholic and salaried. When we worked in the office, she would arrive at 7:30 a.m. and leave at 6:30 p.m. Then she would work nearly every Saturday as well. I'm fairly sure she still keeps the same hours now. I did the math once and she makes less per hour than me by doing that. She claims she has to work that much to get everything done, but she's constantly doing stuff that's unnecessary, emo. She complains constantly of other departments needing her help, but she kind of engineers it that way, at least in part by not letting them take the fall." Nick 2711 said, "Investment banking analysts and associates pull hours like this in busy periods. A lot of people who talk about the industry try to make it seem like it's pretty constantly like that and that they're just hard for being able to handle it. In reality, that's maybe 10-20% of the time that nobody enjoys it. It's like that when a deal's deadline is near and pretty much only then. Maybe if a client makes some bullshit nonsense changes close to another project's deadline as well. Unfortunately, with the type of work you're doing, just having more employees wouldn't really sort anything out. I'm certain there's a better way to handle things, but the solution isn't a simple one. These jobs are almost like a rite of passage on to excellent pay and better working hours in finance. It's maybe a bit backwards, but there's no denying people learn a lot in the 2-3 years they hold these potions for, in part due to the intensity." Saltwater Oak said, "It's kind of everybody all the time. I don't know if it's social media or what, but it seems like everyone suddenly thinks their opinion or viewpoint is important. I don't want to sound like a pessimist or something, but who gives a shit how regular people feel about regular everyday shit? 99% of people don't matter outside their social circle, and it seems like everybody is constantly striving to be noticed and admired and respected by strangers. It doesn't seem healthy. You don't have to be important. Your ideas aren't revolutionary. You aren't unique and special. You're just a person. And that's okay." Difficult Minute said, "Youth sports. My son has played travel basketball, baseball, and football for the last 10 years. I've seen fights, near riots, arguments, coaches get thrown out, players get thrown out, umps get thrown out, police called, guns pulled, and most anything else you can imagine. Even when none of that is happening, people just take the whole thing like it's the World Series. Fathers screaming profanity when their kid strikes out or misses a play, coaches shouting at players in the field for making an error, parents taunting kids from other teams, ridiculously poor sportsmanship from everyone. It's utterly ridiculous." Iowa and Friends said, "I actually loved the movie Blockers for this reason. It had positive messages for teen sex. There was a huge you theme. The 3 teen girls in the movie just unconditionally accept and love the friend that comes out as a lesbian, the one that's not ready to have sex yet. It's totally cool. She's not portrayed as an annoying uppity prude, and the one that is ready for sex isn't portrayed as aggressive or slutty, and all the teen boys in the movie are so chill and respectful to the girls about it. I especially loved one of the mothers in the movie that thinks her husband, the dad, is an idiot for trying to stop daddy's little girl from having sex. She's like, dude, She's a young woman. She's old enough to take care of herself and decide what she wants to do. Let her figure it out and just be there for her. All while still being a hilarious screwball comedy, and they weren't preachy about any of this. It was refreshing, and truly lovely. Killa Cook said. Weddings. So many couples spend tens of thousands on a wedding ceremony and are then in debt for years because of it. The same applies for wedding rings, etc. If you can afford it, that's great. But if you or your partner demands an expensive wedding ring, then that's a really toxic relationship you should try to avoid. You should love someone whether they give you super expensive things or not. Pranks, especially those that are posted on social media where the victim often ends up getting hurt in some way. I remember reading about a person who got their head slammed into a cake by their friends and they had to go to hospital because the cake had wooden supports in it that got themselves nice and comfy in the person's eyes. If it actually hurts someone, it isn't just a prank anymore, unless they specifically say they're okay with it. Sarah Bob 87 said. I know someone's kid who went to the hospital recently because she tried a stunt she saw on TikTok or other social media. It was a stunt where you hold onto the side of a car while someone else drives it while standing on the outside of a car. Guy is a strict father and raises his kids right too. As far as weddings, yes, it's not worth overspending on. If your parents can afford it, that is great too, but a lot of people are opting for a smaller wedding now and different types of weddings. Most people I know who were married recently had their parents pay for the wedding. Bat Raymond said. I dated an adult Disney woman. She had Disney-themed everything. Every vacation she took was to Disney World or Disneyland. She'd dressed as Disney characters on Halloween. I never got very far in dating her, but I suspect she has Disney lingerie and a Minnie Mouse tail plug. I like Disney movies as much as the next guy. For my money, Snow White is one of the crowning achievements of film. Heck, I even enjoy Unidentified Flying Oddball in the Black Cauldron. But the all Disney all the time was just too weird for me. I'm not going to say that every adult Disney woman is like her, but the girl just had issues, and it seems like the sort of saccharine sweet Disney sentimentality was just a weird crutch she latched onto because she had such problems with her childhood. I wish her well. Last I heard, she got married and moved to the Orlando area. Eleni02 said. It happens with many reality shows, but especially Big Brother. If you don't know, this is a show where you can basically watch live feeds for the majority of the day to see what these people are doing and talking about. Conceptually, it's kind of cool. In reality, the fans are fucking crazy. People spend hours a day watching these people live their life and dissecting their moves. Before the show even starts, they dig up any social media info they can find. People make their decisions on who they like, and often the kind of person they believe them to be based on stuff they like or comment, not even their own posts. They pretend like they know them as people, and ascribe motivations to everything. If someone votes or nominates one of their favorites, they will literally try to ruin their lives. Harass their family on social media, try to ruin their businesses, etc. Oh, and don't let a white person and a black person not get along. Because then they will decide that the white person is racist and try to ruin their lives by posting out of context things to try to make everyone hate them. It's disgusting, frankly. PPS Kevin said. Sports. I had this conversation with a coworker yesterday. I enjoy watching sports, it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy watching and rooting for my favorite team. However, at the end of the day, their performance has zero impact on my life. If they win or lose the championship game, I go about my day the next day completely unaffected. The people who get so worked up when their team loses or act as if they had any part in their team winning, peaked in high school sports, have no other personality traits or both. Eleni02 said. It happens with many reality shows, but especially Big Brother. If you don't know, this is a show where you can basically watch live feeds for the majority of the day to see what these people are doing and talking about. Conceptually, it's kind of cool. In reality, the fans are fucking crazy. People spend hours a day watching these people live their life and dissecting their moves. Before the show even starts, they dig up any social media info they can find. People make their decisions on who they like, and often the kind of person they believe them to be based on stuff they like or comment, not even their own posts. They pretend like they know them as people, and ascribe motivations to everything. If someone votes or nominates one of their favorites, they will literally try to ruin their lives. Harass their family on social media, try to ruin their businesses, etc. Oh, and don't let a white person and a black person not get along. Because then they will decide that the white person is racist and try to ruin their lives by posting out of context things to try to make everyone who hate them. It's disgusting, frankly. RMNCLNGGS said. Oh well, my statement was mostly referred to people on the internet who say I hate cats because they show less affection or lazy, etc. Although outside of the internet I don't see anybody in my RL who has anything against neither cats or dogs. I do agree that at least on the internet hatred against cats is more common, also because when we talk negatively about dogs we usually identify them as their breed. For example, Chihuahuas are spawns of the devil, while usually every cat is just a cat regardless of the breed. BrightRow1010 said. What bothered me a lot was how when I got my cat, this is how conversations would go. Them, hey, what's new with you? Me, well, I got a cat. Them, oh, I hate cats. Cats are stupid. Like WTF. Why does it matter if you hate cats? Can't you just be polite and say oh neat or something? It seems like a lot of people who dislike cats turn it into a personality trait or use it as an excuse to be rude, cruel. Like my high school teacher joking about how he used to punt cats down the football field. Asshole. Got me all fired up now. Unriasana Blaberry said. It's complicated, I think. Yes, comedy isn't supposed to be taken seriously, but there are some things that shouldn't be joked about, especially in certain situations or around certain people. In my case, for example, it doesn't matter how lighthearted and not seriously you meant that joke about my eating disorder to be. I do not and will ever appreciate it, and no amount of it's just a joke will fix it. Yes, comedy is great, but people's boundaries are not negotiable, and if someone has clearly stated that they don't enjoy X type of jokes and you keep doing them, you're not being funny, you're just an asshole. McFluff the Crime Cat said. Pretty much all those groups you mentioned, it is a big deal because they were legally denied these positions for so long. Black people's parents and grandparents that are still alive today were segregated by law, along with a lot of other legally enabled hardships after, like redlining, where black families working the same jobs as their white counterparts were denied mortgages and the ability to buy housing, and retail businesses which their white colleagues with the same salary were allowed to. That lasted until the late 80s to actually be phased out by banks for the most part, even after it was legally not allowed on paper about a decade earlier. Women weren't allowed jobs, credit cards, bank accounts, etc. without their husband or father's permission up until my mom was a kid and I'm in my upper 20s. Gay people were regularly beaten, ostracized, sent to religious camps to make them straight, etc. up until very recently. It's also not illegal to discriminate in hiring and housing for people being gay or trans in a lot of places, and is still very much a problem. All those things and exclusion from things we consider normal for a person happened in people who are alive today's lifetime. It's a big achievement for a group who was legally and socially denied being able to participate in society like a regular human to achieve those things when being allowed to participate in regular society and not be barred from opportunities. Iowa and Friends said. Labels, specifically regarding sexuality or gender. I say this as an openly gay person. Am I saying don't worry about labels? It's just a phase. The automatic and correct default is straight, binary sex and genders. No, quite the opposite. What I mean is, as long as there's clear consent and communication, and no abuse, fuck it. Experiment. Get things out of your system. See what you like? Because you fantasized, kissed, crushed on with someone of the same sex, does that automatically make you gay? It doesn't have to. If you tried it out and think that was fun, but maybe I'm not gay after all and like this person more as a friend, fine. Who cares? And if you did try it out and realize maybe you do like this and want to take it further, awesome. You learned something about yourself, terrific. If you hooked up with someone just for fun and you both enjoyed it, rock on. You do you. How will you know what you're into if you don't give it a shot? Get that stuff out of your system before you're ready to settle down. Iowa and Friends said. I have a straight Molly friend that once got drunk and made out with a gay guy at a party, but he's straight and nobody thought twice about it, and he isn't secretly in the closet trying to repress it or anything. He just did it, had fun, and moved on. End of story. It's now just funny. Normalize Brahmin's friend crushes, etc. Just be open and have fun. I know I said I'm gay, but I legit don't give a shit about gender. If the right person came along, I'll give anything a shot. Does that make me pan? I don't know, and I don't care. I'm married to the most amazing person ever and I am one lucky schmuck. We're mammals, and social creatures. When we feel a connection to someone, the brain releases feel-good chemicals. It's biology, regardless of gender. In ancient Roman times it was considered a status symbol to have both male and female lovers, and non-binary genders have existed since time immemorial. Homophobia, transphobia is actually relatively new, and it's repressive bullshit. So people just need to stop worrying. We need to promote more communication and sharing, normalize being open and sharing feelings with our platonic friends. So many times men especially can feel so repressed emotionally because they're scared of being labeled a sissy or gay if they do. It just leads to such terrible issues because then they end up hurting people, and can't get the help they need. Also, we need to stop imposing these labels on children, and sexualizing them before they truly understand what any of this means. This is coming from someone that was a tomboy growing up and has been mockingly called cross-dresser, lesbian, manly my whole childhood. It was confusing, upsetting, and shameful. My semi said. Cancellation of celebrities influencers. I entirely understand when someone has sexually assaulted someone, or has groomed someone. The thing that gets me is how some people will go back 6 or 10 years to find something a celebrity has said that may have been racist, homophobic, or transphobic and use that to drive a hate train towards them. It especially sucks when you can see that the person has changed and does not think this way. A lot of times they take it way too seriously and do not give that person time to grow or educate themselves and even begin to send death threats. So many people take this stuff seriously, which they should, but if they take it so seriously that they are blinded by the true nature and intentions of the person, it can get people killed. Snipperbug said. Pronouns. People on the internet go ballistic when I even dare assume their gender, usually based on things such as their mannerisms, display name, etc. They'll also sometimes go mad if I say bro or dude, both of which I consider to be pretty gender neutral. I fully understand if people don't feel comfortable going by a pronoun that may not describe them anymore, and I am willing to call them by anything they wish, but what sets me off is how much of a fuss they make of it. And of course, since no one else wants to be called anti-LGBTQ, they'll always side with the other party, regardless of how small the issue is. And 240 Charlie said. What is natural is to have an in-group bias. An us versus them mentality. The other herd is a competition after all. But there is nothing to suggest that there's any racial aspects to it. When our brains evolved, we weren't as racially diverse as we are today, so it doesn't make sense that it would be a relevant factor. In the modern day, different ethnicities aren't inherently part of different social groups anymore, so it doesn't make sense to see them as the other side. Travelanch49 said. Games. Board games. Video games. Role-playing games. Bowling. I play Warhammer and Magic, the Gathering, and find the communities in both to be unbearable assholes. Bowling is much the same. I have a finite amount of recreational time. I want to have fun doing whatever activity I choose. I am competitive, don't get me wrong. I love the spirit of competition. I do not love the win at all costs attitude, nor do I respect valuing a person based on their perceived skill at what amounts to organized playing with toys. It really does seem that every competitive endeavor attracts the worst among us. I hate it. Imtha Sussman said. Politics. It doesn't matter who you vote for, you aren't gonna be happy with it. It doesn't matter whose ass is in what chair or behind what desk, pretty much every politician is corrupt and or has done some things you or someone else would seriously disagree with, as well as things that you fully support. Also, a lot of people tend to be in denial about their politician of choice. Oh, Trump is a racist and a sexist, which is why unemployment in most of America, including primarily black neighborhoods, went up greatly during his presidency. And then they'll turn a blind eye to any accusations pointed at Biden when he openly sniffs children and talks about loving when kids sit on his lap, or when he publicly says racial slurs. I don't support either. Both are old rich scumbags. But most people don't see that. They'll deny what they want and accept the narrative that fits their own. Once you step back and realize how stupid all these people are, it's all a big joke. People talk about politics the same way they talk about sports nowadays. It's not about what you truly believe in, It's about whether you're a dumb redneck who likes guns or a dumb hipster who accuses every white Malay of being a rapist, including themselves. Of course that's not everybody, but my point is people pick sides for the sake of having a side. Anyways, that's my TE talk. Dark Kermit 1212 said, I think kids in middle school and high school take relationships way too seriously. Here is my story about a middle school relationship when I was in 6th grade. The short girl in our class comes back into class after lunch and she is really excited. She starts talking about her new boyfriend who gave her the sweatshirt she was wearing. By the way, she just got her boyfriend like 30 minutes before this. Our English teacher, who was really nice and really chill, was congratulating her and just not really caring about it. Well, the day goes on and the next day I come into English class and the girl is sobbing. Her boyfriend broke up with her and she thought she was in a real relationship with him. My friend and I who sat near her tried not to laugh, but we just couldn't hold it in. Hopefully she didn't realize we were laughing at her. Stephen Demon said, politics, and specifically one's perception of political arguments. Just because I say socialism has been tried too many times and failed almost all of the time doesn't immediately mean I do not recognize that X country's implementation of capitalism has been done right. Cough cough America cough cough. I am simply saying that screaming socialism at the top of your lungs without any guidance or plan is a half-assed approach to a complex problem. Just an example, but I feel it drives my point.